Okay, Armageddon. This movie has been dissected by so many critics. Uh, you know what? I don't hate Michael Bay, okay? I dislike his movies, okay? And he he actually does look like a douchebag, but I can't bring myself to totally hate the guy. His he doesn't have a grasp on what a good plot is. He doesn't know how to write character development, and he doesn't really when he adapted the Transformers series, he didn't know what he was doing. All right, he he didn't know the source material that well. Okay, but you have to give it to the guy. He knows special effects and he knows action and he knows how to make a movie that if you're just a moviegoer, you could sort of like you could sort of kind of believe what's happening on the screen, even if it's really silly. I mean, he has the ability to make a summer blockbuster movie, okay? And those are probably the only good qualities in his movies. If I thinking over, I think I've only liked one movie by him that I don't feel guilty about, and that would be The Rock. Every other movie he has made, I felt kind of guilty for either liking it or I totally hated it. So Armageddon. I have to say I actually sorta like this movie, but I know its flaws and I hate it for its flaws. But I got entertained by it for however long it was. I mean, okay, the bad parts about this movie. I could go on forever about the bad parts of this movie. For one, the plot is really silly from the beginning. The if you don't know this movie, it's about astronauts. Well, actually, there's an asteroid going to Earth, and it's about to wipe out everyone on it. And NASA decides, hey, what? In order to destroy it, let's drill a hole into it and drop some nukes in it. So they get a team of oil drillers, train them to be astronauts, and send them to the asteroid. Now, there's so many things wrong with that. For one, one thing that a lot of people brought up was uh, these guys had like 10 days to become astronauts when it takes like years to become an astronaut. You know, that's the number one thing that people have a hard time to uh, to forget. And that's just like that's not even into the movie. That's just like the poster or the back of the DVD. There's a lot of things that are just like mind-blowingly like stupid. I mean, why is it that like the rocks only hit cities, or why is it that civilians are the first ones to see the asteroid, or why is it that they weren't able to see the asteroid until like a few days before? I mean, like I read online that an asteroid the size of what they say in the movie, you could see that like months before it even approaches Earth. Also, what are some other bad things? What are some other stupid things in this movie? Oh yeah, why is it that the America still looks like it's in the 50s? Or why is it that only America is sending astronauts? I mean, like you'd expect. I mean, there's one Russian cosmonaut, all right, but you'd expect more of a diverse cast instead of just all Americans and one Russian cosmonaut. And by the way, why is there only one Russian cosmonaut in space in space station? And the list goes on and on and on. I mean, like even NASA, they train their employees, I guess. They train them by having them watch this movie and spot inaccuracies. And by the way, I read on Wikipedia that there's like 168 inaccuracies. You know, there's a lot of things wrong in this movie. I mean, actually, before I go back into the positives, I just realized this thing doesn't really come up in conversations. Like, why is there a Gatling gun in space? I mean, I don't hate it. I think it looks cool, but I don't understand the purpose of a Gatling gun in space. So, okay, back to the positive points. You can hate it for all the inaccuracies, but there are some good parts about this movie. I mean, like, let's see. Let me think about it. Okay, it is actiony, uh, and there's action. It's suspenseful, and I was entertained for like 2 hours. It wasn't a total waste like how most people say. Like, okay, if you're a moviegoer who can't like who can't just suspend their disbelief because of this, you're gonna hate this movie. But if you're willing to suspend your disbelief for just 2 hours, you might be able to enjoy this movie. I mean, like, for all its corniness and bad science. I mean, this movie's not trying to portray an accurate, like, space mission. If it was, then, well, this would be a very boring movie because there's no sound in space, so there's no sound because there's no air. There can't be explosions because there's no air in space. And be very slow moving space shuttles. And yeah, I mean, basically watch 2001: A Space Odyssey. So you can't really hate it for its inaccuracies. It was trying to be the most entertaining movie as possible, and they had to forget the science because of it. And a lot of movies do that. I mean, like, a lot of movies tend to, when they're about like space or history, they tend to rewrite some things in the movie to make it more entertaining. I mean, Mel Gibson did that for Braveheart. He changed things about what really happened to William Wallace. You can't really hate this movie for its inaccuracies. I mean, it could be more accurate, I admit, but some inaccuracies had to be there in order for it to be entertaining. That's what I'm trying to get at. That's why I can't totally hate this movie. I don't think it's a very good movie, but it was entertaining for at least like the 2 hours that I sat through. Okay, yeah, that's about it.